Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It's myself, George, and today I'm joined by Tate as we delve into another BFI London Film Festival film. This is, of course, Spencer, directed by Pablo Larraín, starring Kristen Stewart as Princess Diana. This is a very interesting film because, just like The Harder They Fall, I get to say that I was at a late night screening, and you were 12 hours in front at the press screening yesterday morning. So we have another interesting dynamic. So before we get into that, I'm just going to hand over to Tate the socials and where you can find us and some other content coming up.
Yeah, sure. So throughout the entire festival, which runs from Wednesday 6th to Sunday 17th, we're going to have loads of film reviews coming out. So keep an eye out on any of the reviews that come out within these 2 dates. You'll usually know it's a film festival review because it'll have the film festival thing at the top of the thing. We've already done The Harder They Fall, and this is obviously our second film of the festival, and there's loads more to come. If you want to see what's going to be coming up with our scheduling and stuff like that, please be sure to go and find us on Facebook. That is Cinema Savvy. Find us on Twitter. That is Cinema_Savvy. Go onto Letterboxd, where we'll be putting up all these films as well. And go into the TeePublic link description for comfy jumpers and lovely t-shirts as well.
Absolutely, guys. So Ezra, this is the second one, and I don't really know how to start this on Absolute Truth. Let's talk about the event. So I saw it at an independent cinema again. You were at the press screening. Now, in The Harder They Fall, we spoke about the fact that was at the South Bank Centre, and Spencer returned to Leicester Square. Can you tell me how that cures? Because I've seen a lot of stuff online, and for people at home that don't know how the press screens work, you get the screening at night, the premiere simultaneously screened at a couple of places in the country, and then you get like the 8 AM press screening, so people are up at grueling times in the morning. And it is, from what I heard, it was carnage to get in yesterday.
Yeah, it wasn't nice. Previous years for the main galas and the film festival, the ones which have been able to attend in person, they've been done at the Odeon, which is a bigger screen, a lot more seats, and a lot more capacity. I think there was only one film that I've attended where not everyone got in, and that was Knives Out, and that was because everyone who had a press pass wanted to see that. But yesterday, or at least for this year's festival, they've decided to put all the films in the View, which they've had as a venue for the film festival in the past. But it's never been there for their galas. They've always had the galas in a slightly bigger venue. Yesterday, I got there about 45 minutes before the film was meant to start, and I was somewhat near the front of the queue, but I wasn't in, I would have only just made it into the opening screening of the first people. I decided to move back in the queue because we had friends from the channel there. So we had Charlie, we had Neil, we had Theo, who have all been on in the past, and we managed to get into the second screening, but I know that some people didn't manage to get into any of the free screenings they had on for this film. And people were showing up at the time you were kind of meant to show up, if that makes sense. They say don't show up until like half an hour beforehand, and don't try and show up super early. But I mean, if you followed those rules, I don't think you would have got in. So it's one of those kind of like bad situations, because the screenings in the View aren't that big, and they've only got a limited number of screenings. So it's 3 screenings for Spencer. I think for Last Night in Soho, there's going to be 5, but that still could be a struggle to get everyone in, because that's going to be one of the most popular films of the festival. I'm not the biggest fan of them doing it at the View. As comfy as the seats were, and we did manage to get in and stuff like that, it's not only just the queuing, but it's also just kind of the chaos that came with it and stuff like that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the festival pans out. But
no, absolutely, and worth with Spencer's on noting that this is obviously one of the galas, but this is one of the most, I don't want to say hyped films, but this is one that when they announced it, it made sense to be at the London Film Festival. Of course, it's obviously about Princess Diana, British, and all that kind of stuff. So that was a big draw to itself. But the fact that this was getting premiered here, and after Venice, this is getting a lot of talk, which we'll speak about across with the Oscars and what we expect this to be nominated for, potentially win stuff for. But I think a big thing heading into this is that we knew it was a fictional film. And I think this is where it's been divisive, in which we'll probably get into properly across it. But obviously, this is set fictionally during the Christmas at Sandringham. Is it in the state or a manor? I don't know what they call it. But either way, it follows Diana in the lead up to her and Charles's eventual divorce. So really interesting premise to do something fictional. And I think that's very brave for the director. So, of course, directed by Pablo Larraín, written by Stephen Knight from Peaky Blinders, which surprised me when I found that out as well. Really initial thoughts. I wasn't a massive fan. I had a bit of a lull of a tweet last night, but I appreciate how well crafted the film is. but I just don't think the film did it for me personally. And I think this is where it is going to come down to that fictional stuff that I have no issue with a fictional take on it. But for me, it was just a bit not on the extreme of the fictional, which we'll sort of get into, but some of the fictional stuff just felt too much on the nose for me personally. I know that I think you enjoyed it a lot more than I did.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed the film, and I'm okay to kind of forgive it for some of its kind of fictionalities that it makes up and stuff like that, because it does tell quite a compelling story, and honestly, quite a believable story. I mean, I don't think we'll ever know the full details that will go into it, and there's a lot of speculation that will go into kind of the events that did actually happen. But this is kind of a believable take, and I hope that people don't immediately think, oh, because it's a believable take, it is like taken as fact and stuff like that. Because I know that this film will be divisive in more than one way. It'll be divisive on the premise of kind of where you fall on this story. Do you side with Diana? Do you side with the royals? And where does that fall down and stuff like that? But also, it's going to be quite divisive just in its own kind of premise of it's fiction. Do you believe the fiction? Do you think it's kind of more tailored towards reality and stuff like that? I was okay with kind of the fictionalization of it, and I was okay with the way that it presented itself in the story. I quite like films that are very kind of not bottle episode, but very bottled in. So this was over the span of 3 days, the entire story, and it's kind of a fantastic kind of not descent into madness, but it's a fantastic kind of psychological breakdown given a high pressure situation, and everything in the film plays towards that narrative. The music, for example, really makes you kind of feel on edge the entire time. The framing of the film, just some of the details they put into the film, all make you feel confined and almost trapped, which is what the film wanted to do. So I'm completely okay with kind of them fictionalizing some stuff just so that they're able to get across that kind of that point and that feeling, because this film does kind of it's a very good piece of filmmaking to present itself. Whether the story, you believe it or not, is a slightly different kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing sort of jumping in, is that obviously talking about Kristen Stewart as Diana, she is, I mean, I said this is very well crafted film, and the rumors heading into this was she's gonna win the Oscar, she's gonna get nominated for the Oscar. I think when they announced her, there was a little bit of uproar, because I think not many people have followed her career since. So for a lot of people, it was Bella, is it Bella from Twilight? I was forgetting character name. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Like, oh, how can she play Diana? She's this and that. But you know, if you have followed her career over the last sort of 10 years in that period, you'll realize that she has, like Rob Pattinson, gone out, made independent films, very good independent films, and I would argue that in terms of acclaim, she's had a better post-Twilight career than Rob Pattinson. I believe that she is the only American ever to win the French Oscars version of Best Actress, which I think says an absolute lot. And, you know, I remember that photo coming out before this film, and she's not just a spitting image of her, but then in the trailer you got the voice as well. And the scary thing of this film is that you can watch this film, and this is a credit to it, you don't see Kristen Stewart, you see Diana. There is no way you can actually see the actress. And I don't even want to say she's not caked up in makeup, not in prosthetics. It's not like a Gary Oldman type thing with Churchill. She is just essentially that character. And I think it's one of the best castings I've seen in something so long. Now, what I do want to say is that I've seen the first half of season 1 of The Crown. I haven't seen the most recent season, which I know covered a younger Diana like this. So I don't know what the comparisons are, but what Kristen Stewart has done, she's made this her own from the get-go, and you know, I think the acclaim is there, and I think straight away jumping in, she is without a doubt the favorite for Best Actress at the Oscars right now. I'd imagine it's out of her and Frances McDormand.
Yeah, oh, easily. She was absolutely fantastic. Discipline like completely into the role. You don't see her at all, and my kind of thing going into it, because I decided with this film I wouldn't see any trailers going in, because I wanted to be either kind of happy surprised or kind of sad surprised on kind of seeing her performance and stuff like that. So all I had to go off this film was the posters and stuff like that, and just the knowledge that she was going to play Diana. But I mean, her accent, absolutely perfect from what I've seen of Diana. She looks the part so well, like you just can't see anyone but Diana. And then even down to the mannerisms. I mean, you see some of the mannerisms that she gave off when in like TV interviews and stuff like that, and she's absolutely nailed it. And I just think, yeah, absolute kind of dead on. She will be nominated for the Oscar. It's whether she wins it or not, and that could come down to Frances McDormand. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's going to be another surprise role coming in to kind of steal the thunder or anything like that. But honestly, she was absolutely fantastic in this performance. I don't think anyone could kind of downplay that fact. Also, some of the other performances of the film, which I quite enjoyed, were quite fantastic and stuff like that. Sean Harris, we were talking about this beforehand. We've always seen him in roles where he's quite chaotic and kind of crazy and stuff like that. I haven't seen him in much personally, but honestly, in this film, he plays a nice kind of quiet, understanding. He plays a chef, commanding in some points and stuff like that, like a friendly character, and it's really nice to see him kind of with a diverse role like that. Timothy Spall as well. I mean, he always smashes it. I don't think there's a single kind of bad performance that he does. I quite liked his character and stuff like that, and his presentation of that. And then also, finally, kind of the third, would you say side character, kind of third kind of character to be introduced, I guess, is Sally Hawkins as Maggie, the dresser.
Yeah.
I don't think it's her strongest performance. I think it's the only performance I could kind of put some form of criticism into. But Sally Hawkins tends to be quite good in most roles she's in, and it's not a bad performance. It's just not her strongest.
Yeah, I think with those three as well, it's worth mentioning that those are three fictional characters, which is very interesting because we know it's fictional events. So I think bringing in fictional characters is actually a massive plus, that they're not taking real characters and turning them into fictionalizations. Obviously, Bart Diana's storyline subpart, maybe with the Will and Harry stuff as well. But those three in particular, I thought Sean Harris, I really enjoyed. I said it's because he's not really. I mean, maybe I've not seen enough of him, but in so many films he's in, he is always playing, as you mentioned, someone chaotic, a villain, or someone that's like sort of scarred, disfigured. I always think of Prometheus was one of the first things I saw him in, and he's one of those actors, and he came up in this, and he was just really likable. It was a different type of role for him. It's something we hadn't really seen him do, and it's actually quite interesting seeing. I know it's really pathetic, but like just the cooks for the royal family, like how they have to prepare and things like that, and Timothy Spall, I think you know what you're going to get with him. He's such a solid actor, and it's the first film I've seen him in for a long time, so I didn't appreciate the weight loss he'd done. I'd seen photos online, but he looked unbelievable in this film. Just wanted to add that in there, and he was great. And again, the casting is faultless. Now, the Sally Hawkins character is the only one I've got a problem with, and I think it's more so because there becomes a really big moment in the film. And it's sort of played off as comedy, and I just don't think that moment. I don't want to say it didn't work. It just felt a bit caricature of a stereotype, and I don't know how that would go down with a lot of people in truth. But if you've seen it, you'll know exactly what we mean by that moment. It was a bit jarring, and you are right. I don't think we had enough of her. She kind of dips in and out of the film, and I think because Sally Hawkins one is so great and everything as well. I just don't think she had enough material to work with for this one. And I really wanted to quickly mention, obviously, the royals kind of grouped together in this film. Like, I'm not a massive fan of the royals. I don't know if this is worth mentioning where we stand, because I don't know if it will have people have different thoughts. But as far as real life goes, I'm absolutely 100% on Harry's side of just everything of the last 2 years, which can sum up where people stand with that family. I'm not fully against them. Obviously, there's a lot of issues within them, but you know, the Queen paying for Prince Andrew's legal fees for being a pedo, that's not something I'm ever gonna fucking approve of by myself. One of the things I love the fact the royals are kind of not the villains of the film, but the film hits home with the concept of them living in the past and following mandatory procedures. Now, I don't mind that. It did feel a bit extreme at some points, but I think this is that fictional mindset of we need to not make them out to be the villains, but we need to see, as you said earlier, the breakdown of Diana and what's going to happen with her in the film. And I think they did a really good way of, you know, you don't get them on screen. You probably not introduce them till maybe like the end of the opening act, maybe, but they rely on almost Timothy Spall being the voice of the royals combined, which is a really interesting take, because you don't want to spend time with them the way they're built up. Now, obviously, Charles has a massive part to say in this. I think Jack Farthing plays him, who it did an okay job. I think obviously the real life moments, the whole affair with Camilla is obviously very well publicized and acknowledged in the film,
Mm.
and just the royal side of things. I don't know if this is going to be where it splits people, but I didn't mind them. I just think some of the fictional things was a bit extreme. Although I do agree, like they're so stuck in the past of their ways, the traditions and whatnot. It was a very interesting take to see that at the forefront, because I think, once people are a part of that family, and this is a really random side tangent. I saw Rami Malek doing an interview for Bond this week, and he spoke about when he met Kate and William at the BAFTAs, and he was saying like he just asked her how she was, if she was tired because she was on duty just after having a baby, and he said that he thought he'd broke her, that she was shell-shocked that she didn't suddenly have a royal presence. And in this film, it very much brings home the essence of there's every royal is two. There is the public image which they have to follow, and then the private one which we never see. And I thought that was a really interesting thing, given obviously that interview I saw this week.
No, it's very interesting how they portray the roles in this film, because they're less of the villains and more of just kind of background ghosts that kind of come in and kind of say a few lines that kind of are, dare I say, quite scathing towards Diana and stuff like that, and then kind of disappear back off. And it's a very interesting kind of thing, because it's almost a lot more is said when nothing is said in this film with a lot of the characters, especially with the royals. There's a lot of silence between the royals and Diana, and it's just kind of unspoken words that kind of lead you down one path of thinking and stuff like that. But I do want to give a special shout out to the two people who are playing William and Harry, because I thought they were quite good in their roles, especially for child actors, Jack Neelan and Freddie Spry, who were actually really, really good. And there's one scene, we'll call it the soldier scene, the soldier major scene, which is absolutely fantastic acting from everyone involved. Really, really good. A really nice scene between the three of them as well. So yeah, I think acting just in general was quite good in the film. The only one that you could kind of go with was Sally Hawkins, but maybe if they gave her more material and maybe a slightly different storyline, it would have been slightly better. I mentioned the soundtrack before, dictating the film, and even from the very, very, very start, there's the opening shot of the film is very on edge, and it's one of those shots where if I describe it to you, it doesn't sound like it would be on edge, but I don't even know if I can describe it spoiler wise and stuff like that. But it's one of those scenes where from the very start you're like, oh, like it takes you back and stuff like that. And that's kind of the theme that is run with the film, and the music absolutely helps with that. It's a lot of kind of violins and stuff like that, kind of increasing, getting darker, louder and stuff like that, and kind of a higher tempo, and it almost paces kind of what is going through Diana's mind at the time. It paces kind of what is ticking through the mind and what is going to kind of push her over the edge and stuff like that. So it's really, really well composed and really well done. And what is something that I really, really like about it as well is these are like, you think, oh, it's just kind of the background music and stuff like that. But then you realize they kind of pan the camera around at one point, and then there's actually people playing the violin to that tempo. Yeah. You're like, oh shit, they're in the room with, and it's so well done. And yeah, it completely paces the film well, because I thought this film flew by, and I'm wondering if that was because of the soundtrack.
Yeah, the soundtrack I think is after Kristen Stewart the best thing in this film by Country Mile. That it has you on edge. It's got tension. That it's almost like when she's wearing jewelry, the songs that they're doing sound like. This sounds really weird. It's not that you can get three-dimensional music, but like it's like almost like jewelry's been used. It's not as an instrument, not like a Nolan thing, but it feels like it's dragging her down, like it's choking her. But then the music sounds like it's choking your sort of audible stuff, and it sounds like it is something from that. If that makes any sense. If you've seen it, understanding it's definitely an unconventional soundtrack, which is why it works. So it made it feel like a horror film, and I guess some could argue that this is maybe a psychological film, absolutely, but I don't think this one works without the soundtrack. It is so well done. It builds up, it creates tension. It's exactly what you want, and it's quite eerie and uncomfortable. You mentioned the opening shot. There's like a dead pheasant as all the cars are just driving through it as well, and I didn't realize that it is Johnny Greenwood, who's obviously from Radiohead, and I think he did There Will Be Blood. He's done a couple of film soundtracks before, so it's a very, very good soundtrack. I think that's going to get nominated at the Oscars 100%. I know we're going to sort of jump into the conversation, but I think when you look at soundtracks, you know, you get audible soundtracks which are great to listen to, which is fine. But then you get the killer ones that you might not be able to listen to, but they are the essence of the film. I think I always sort of mention Dunkirk as an example from Hans Zimmer, that it's not the easiest thing to listen to outside of the film, but the way it works for that film, what it does, I think it transcends it. And this is what the soundtrack does. And I think 100% this needs an Oscar nomination. It probably will get it. And I really want to quickly do a shout out to the cinematography as well, because the film was shot beautifully. I mean, if we're talking Oscar stuff, cinematography is going to be an insane year this year. So to me, it's way too early to judge. But this film is going to be all over Oscar season. I think Kristen Stewart either has it in the bag or at least the nomination. I think the soundtrack is going to be up there.
Soundtrack, costume design.
I love the costumes. Well. Yeah, I was going to say the costumes.
Really nice.
For a film set across 3 days, I wasn't expecting as many costumes as there were, but it made me feel quite eerie, because obviously, like, we weren't born in 91; we're a couple of years after, but it felt like a period piece, and that kind of got me on edge that 1991 isn't, I would argue, a period thing at this moment in time. Like the same way I didn't see the 80s. When I think of period films, I think of the 1800s. And there was something about the way this film was shot. And maybe that's the traditions of the royal family more so than anything, but it felt like you're watching a time capsule from 200 years ago, yet it was so modern for it. And, you know, it looks exactly, you know, when you see Kristen Stewart as Diana, they nail the costumes, but it's not the dresses and the ball gowns. It is those kind of sort of jeans that she used to wear and the pomp jackets. And I absolutely adore the costume choices in this film. And I really hope that gets recognized, because I just didn't expect it from something over, as we said, the course of 3 days.
Yeah, no, costume design in this film was fantastic. I can't think of any other films that can match it for kind of coming up to the Oscars. I think it's a definite nomination. It probably is a definite win as well. So we could see this film winning multiple Oscars in that sense, and stuff like that. I think the score should be nominated as well. We'll have to see. And same with cinematography as well. It was so beautifully shot, so beautifully framed as well. It'll be very interesting to see what actually comes of it, because we are so far away from Oscar season. But obviously with this film festival, we do start to get kind of inklings about films, what they're going to be nominated for, what they can kind of do with it and stuff like that. I mean, last year Nomadland was at the festival. We didn't manage to get to see it, but obviously it's a festival that draws in films that can win Best Picture, can win loads of awards and stuff like that. But if we're going into my final thoughts, I really enjoyed this film. I think I'm going to watch it again when it comes out. It's something that, just as a character study alone, it's just very well done. And just to see kind of Kristen Stewart's performance again, I think it would be worth the watch 100%. The film flew by. It was beautifully shot, beautifully framed, and just was stunning to look at. There's only a few things which I could kind of say I'm not the biggest fan of within this film. I think the audience it will split people, but I'm hoping that people will kind of see it for what it is, which is a good film, and not kind of take their own personal kind of qualms with the film and stuff like that. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, I'm kind of, I appreciate the filmmaking more so than the film itself. I think it was very, very well crafted, and which I enjoyed about it. But to me personally, it was just something missing. I think the extremities of the fictional events, I think for me, were just too much at times, and I did feel that it did drag. I know it's not actually that long; it's only 1 hour 50, but I thought it was going to finish about 20 minutes before it actually did. So I'm very interested to see how this is horrible to say. I don't really care what the Americans think, but the British audience is going to be very interesting. I know it's got a 5th November release date over here, but this is the kind of film that's going to be asleep. I hate talking box office of Oscars, but this is going to be a sleep hit. The British public will flock to see this film, you know, especially with all the hype on The Crown and things like that. This could be a very interesting one to see how this does turn out, what people think. I don't think this is going to get the unofficial royal blessing like The Crown did in its early years. But I'm very interested to see how other people react to it, because I think there has been, I'd say it's probably about 80% positive at the moment with reactions I've seen online. So I know I'm in a minority at the moment, but I'm intrigued to see what does happen and if I do go check it out again. So I think that wraps up everything we can say on Spencer. As we said, we're still covering the film festival. So next up, brackets, we hope, because this is obviously getting released on Saturday, this review. Last Night in Soho screens would have been and gone. I'm going to make sure we're both in that. But as we said this morning, maybe the queue system will change. Who knows? But that's going to be quite the one if people get turned away. So that is probably, I don't know when the next review is. All we know is we're covering the film festival. There's a hell of a lot of great films like this. So we can tease what we've already done. We have done a review for The Hard Day 4. That is now up on the channel. That was a
Mm.
great discussion. That was a very, very fun film to watch. And more recently, we've just had the Dune spoiler-free review, which has been amazing. A lot of people have checked that one out already. And of course, our James Bond content. The film is now out in America for the American audiences. If you're still here, the spoiler-free version's out. That's only an hour and a half, and the spoiler one is only 4 hours. So 5.5 hours of Bond. And I feel like we still missed stuff out, which is fine because it was too long anyway. But there's a lot more stuff coming out on the channel. And as always, we want to know your thoughts on this. If you have seen Spencer, comment below. If you're a fan of the Royals and you're looking forward to the film, also let us know, because there's going to be a lot of discussions, I think, about The Crown and Spencer and what differs and what doesn't. So I'm very intrigued.
Yeah, between The Crown and this film, I mean, Emma Corrin played Diana in The Crown previously, who I haven't really seen anything else, but Elizabeth Debicki is going to be playing her in the upcoming series, which I think is going to be very interesting, because I've seen a load of things with Elizabeth Debicki in.
She's a lot taller.
A lot taller. A lot taller. So it'll be very interesting to see kind of how she portrays the character, because she does look a little bit like Diana. So I think it'll be very interesting with that portrayal.
Absolutely. So as I said, guys, stick with us. We've got a lot more stuff coming from this festival. We'll have them up on the channel, and the best way to find about those is hitting us up on our social medias. Tate, where can they find those?
So you can find us on Facebook. Just type in Cinema Savvy. You can find us on Twitter, cinema_savvy, Letterboxd, Cinema Savvy again, and go on to TeePublic in the description. Pick up a hoodie, pick up a t-shirt, pick up some stickers. I think they still sell stickers on there and stuff like that. But yeah, go find us on those channels.
Absolutely, guys. So once again, thank you for watching with us, and be sure to see us on the next one. Take care.